Welcome to another episode of Ask the Expert on Contingent Workforce LinkedIn Group. This is a very special episode, guys. One of the most underrated guys in our industry, one of the smartest guys I know, and just an awesome dude as well. So wanted to talk about a great topic in our always evolving ecosystem, and wanted to talk about how to build a strategic partnership program and a technical ecosystem, and more technology is playing a part. So I wanted to welcome my good friend, Andrew, or Andy Erlichman, to the show today.
Either way works great.
Awesome.
So thank you. Thank you.
Andy, you've been in this industry for over 20 years. You started, as a solutions architect at an MSP way back when. You've been almost 13 years at the Guidant Group, creating strategic partnerships, being a solutions architect for some of the largest programs in the industry. Thank you for coming on and taking some time with us today again.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm really happy to be here, of course. Always a great conversation. So I feel like we could record every week and it would be fun and maybe some good content for people to listen to. But I have to start by kind of going back in time, way back in time. I don't like to date myself too much, but I originally, so how we originally met, and I don't know that you even recall the story per se, but it was an Ask the Expert scenario. So super happy to share that because it was the foundation for me getting into talent tech and really diving into new architecture. So way back when, operating in the MSP space where our job was to really do everything, right? So you wore pretty much every hat, tech side, non-tech side, service, everything. The program we were overseeing had an abundance of retirees that were engineers that all wanted to come back as independent contractors. And my boss at the time challenged me with figuring out, first of all, what is an independent contractor and how do you engage? A quick search, whether it was on the internet at the time, I don't even recall how. A quick search led me to Jeff, the expert. So he was one of very few people. There was the compliance diva who was out there, and Jeff was out there really as an expert in the IC, independent contractor compliance space. I needed information. He provided me the information, and fast forward all this time, here we are today, and independently it is about to blow up. And independent contractor compliance is how we first met. So super cool story, and I'm super excited to be here.
That's hilarious. Like it was mainly the Guidant Group relationship that I've known you. So going almost 20 years. It's amazing. Yeah. That's awesome.
It is amazing. And it was great for me. It was really helpful. I love that space. The IC compliance space is super fun. It's challenging, and as you'll find out, the public world will find out, there's some great tech on the horizon to support that whole end-to-end experience. But yeah, no, it definitely is a long time. But yes, we've become closer at Guidant Global, at my Guidant Global experience currently, and we're having a good time. So
amazing,
great to be here.
And it's so interesting how that full circle comes around about how small an industry it is. And there are experts in different categories within the space. And so there's this whole idea of, how do you figure out to build an ecosystem that helps be experts in each of these very different complex areas of our contingent workforce management industry. And so, of all the people I thought of, I've been saying, how do you build the best ecosystem and strategic partnerships? And I thought of you, of course, Andy, because you've been building one of the best, and you're the best at it too, how you built relationships with people. So, one of the things that maybe some people are saying, oh, is it really important? Yes, it is the question. But the why around what is the importance of building a strategic partnership program and technical ecosystem in the contingent workforce management space? Because
Yeah,
you often hear, oh, we can cover everything by
right,
a lot of vendors that come to market like that. And often, the people that know in the industry go, BS, right? And
right.
it's usually a partnership program that's underlying. And so you've kind of taken that approach that, hey, let's say we can help our clients strategically, but be very transparent on how we build our partnerships with the best people. So why is it important?
Yeah. That's a great question. And I'm glad you started with the why, because that really, whether it's within an ecosystem, whether it's within what you do for work, it should start with why you're doing it. That's an important thing to think about. So for those of you who are unaware, what Guidant does is we manage the end-to-end, let's call it the procure to pay process within workforce programs, whether it's contingent labor or the full gambit of talent. So we're tasked with coming up with the best solutions for our clients. And what I mean by the best solutions, the solutions that deliver the highest quality talent in the most efficient way, at the best cost, and all while managing risk and compliance. So thinking about that wide array of things that must happen, our why is really, developing or ensuring that our clients and our users in general have the best experience. Our users don't just stop with the clients. It starts with the clients, of course, but it's our back office users. It's our PMO teams. It's our implementation teams. It's the candidate experience, of course. We talk about all of these things as being the why behind delivering the best results for our clients.
Yeah, no, and that totally makes sense. And so the
Yeah,
why is to make sure it's the best experience. And
that's right.
having strategic partners
Yeah,
allows for that. Because if you're a jack of all trades, especially in such a complex category as with all the different components within a program, you often aren't the master of every single category, right? And so to be
without
strategic in that partnership approach where you're bringing best of breed solutions to your clients is key.
Without question. It's a great point. So we can't do it all. We do rely on technology. It starts with a system of record. I think most of us have experienced what a vendor management system is, right? That helps us manage the procure to pay process and report on what we're actually doing within our programs. But there's so much more. And there are some amazing companies out there that offer everything from talent attraction technology to interviewing platforms and assessment platforms to compliance, on and offboarding tech. There's so many things out there. And when you talk about ecosystem, it's massive.
Yeah.
So to me, it is really important to have, to first understand your why scenario, but then you need to develop a how scenario. So how are you going to identify the right partners for your situation, right? So with that, the way we look at things, we look across the entire continuum. So what we do from getting to work in the morning to leaving work at the end of the day, including paying our people, paying our contingent workers, all of that stuff. So across that continuum, where are there opportunities to improve, add value, fill gaps, just create that optimal experience? And oftentimes there's a technology that can help solve that solution. So it starts with identifying where you may need technology to help, right? So that to us is really important. There is so much. There's an ocean. There are oceans of technology providers out there doing amazing things. but you can't talk to them all. So you really want to try to hone in on what, how you're operating today, where there's opportunity to improve and add value, for sure.
And is it one of these things? Is it a future look of, hey, we see the market going this way and starting to identify, or is it more let's face it, Guidant has and the MSP community has a lot of clients out there that are identifying needs in the day-to-day that go, oh, I wish I had something to solve for this. And is it kind of a buildup of those potential requirements that drives building an ecosystem, or is it more future thinking and bringing those to your client base?
I think, it really is a combination of both. Being proactive, we all know is ideal. Listening to the experts, the thought leaders in the industry, what they're talking about today and what they're thinking about tomorrow is a good indicator of where to focus or where to look. But at times we also have to react to situations. I think we all had to react to a pretty significant situation a couple of years back. And based on how we reacted, really determined what the results would be for our organizations. A lot of us moved into remote work. A lot of us took advantage of looking at technology partners to see, how can you help solve for some of these problems? We had some clients that needed to ramp up headcount pretty significantly. We used technology and our staffing partners to really hone in on how to solve that big problem. So I think it's a combination of both. I love to try to look forward, and oftentimes, we may be talking about things a little earlier than the market's ready for. I think we've all been talking about direct sourcing for how many years now, right? It's really happening, and it's really valuable and an exciting thing that we're now delivering from both a services and a tech perspective. So to answer your question again, I think it's a combination of both. Trying to be proactive, trying to look forward, but also needing to be reactive, needing to pivot quickly, and tech can often help you do that.
No, totally. And looking at the forward, and we've also met many times at various conferences, and you get the forward thinking trends, and you get often a lot of marketing, let's call it, as well, from vendors and different things talking about their solutions as the future. And then it's bringing it back to a practical sense. And that's your job, right? To say, hey, how many of my client bases could utilize this? And would it make their programs better, faster, more efficient, better candidate experience? And so I think that, that future trend that we had been talking to about 10 years ago called direct sourcing is finally starting to hit the priorities of a lot of programs, and it's becoming more practical, and you're starting to see it actually be implemented.
So true.
Right?
It's a great point. And part of the process, and there's so many factors that weigh in introducing successful new partnerships or new processes for that matter. It doesn't always have to be a partner thing, but introducing something new, there's a lot that we consider. We consider voice of the user community is really key. Understanding from them, where the pain points are, how does change management work best within their programs, work best within their teams. It can be, a singular PMO within our organization that benefits from one solution that we introduce. But it starts with understanding. Really, when you're introducing new tech, new partners, I've learned the hard way that something I think is super interesting and cool may be really challenging for someone else to either understand or implement within their programs for several reasons. So we go through a big, I would call it vetting. I would say it starts with viability. It absolutely starts with understanding our organization, our clients' needs, what our people are doing, how they could do things better. We've introduced some really cool automation tools just from understanding how our teams are operating and how they could focus more on their core jobs and less on tedious tasks, right? So that understanding is really the first step. Once you have that understanding, you really need to understand, you want to know how it works, but the viability behind cost, ROI, all of those things that clients consider when they buy our services, we consider when we're engaging with partners. It's not easy. In the MSP space, we've been kind of set up as a supplier-funded, set up as a supplier-funded model. And oftentimes, adding incremental cost to programs is a challenging thing to do. So it has to be very carefully planned, understood, and implemented in the right way.
So
Yeah.
knowing that you've really been researching the market, you've been in the solutions architect. Once again, you've got the pulse on where what the industry and clients are asking for. You of course research. I know we've had great conversations about what's new and exciting. What are some of the things that may be happening now that and are trends now and trends over the next couple of years, but are there more trends that you're seeing in the future that we have to start thinking about? And there's some cool tech or cool partnerships that you're starting to have conversations with that we should start thinking about now?
Sure. Another good question and very relevant. We're looking at, where's the industry going? Right? What are some of the things that are important to our clients for solving small and big problems, attracting the right talent for them, really looking at, a few key areas. I think we can all agree that direct sourcing has taken off, right? It definitely is a tech-enabled solution that combines really strong talent curation work, talent marketing work, that tech helps to attract the right candidates really quickly at times, engage them quickly at the right price. So to me, direct sourcing has been a big focus for us. We have a tech partner in Bullhorn that we've been really invested in from an Impellum Group, which is the parent company of Guiding Global. From an Impellum Group level, we're heavily invested in the Bullhorn partnership. And together, we're building this amazing tool that's about to be launched for hosting our direct sourcing application, which to me is super exciting. It's really an end-to-end platform that does provide that access and speed to lead to high quality talent for our clients, specific to our clients' needs. So that to me is a really exciting tool. Within that ecosystem fits some really cool tools as well. The ability to chat, right? The ability to quickly talk to your candidate pools, which can be really large. Having chat functionality within some of these talent technologies to me is a really important piece. And we're finding that, keeping talent interested, that talent experience that everyone talks about, keeping our candidates really interested requires a lot of work, a lot of communication, honest communication, ongoing. Then we talk about, really using AI, but using streamlined ways to get that big funnel of talent really whittled down quickly, specific to our clients. There's tech that solves for that. So those within that ecosystem, that direct sourcing, but really talent attraction ecosystem, there's a host of tools that there's a ton of providers out there, by the way, but there's a host of tools that solve for those problems. The other I'll talk about, and I'll tell you today, we're looking closely at his statement of work and really how to address engaging the contract in the right way. So using technology to really identify the right suppliers for complex statement of work activities and quickly creating the right contract for our clients. We're being asked to do more and more within that space. It's amazing to see it really finally coming to fruition. A lot of statement of work in the past has been more administrative in nature, as you know. A lot of independent contractors sitting within that space. So having the tools to make that part of the process enabled, another key thing. There's some great companies out there. Globality is a good company. I'm sure many of you have heard of so far or right now. But there's so many others that do cool things around that services procurement space.
It is amazing to look at the future, and our industry typically is really good at looking at the future and often predicting it too early a little bit, and then it takes some time to figure that into practicality, or especially around change management of current states of large companies that don't move as quickly as maybe some of our thought leadership does. If I'm a contingent workforce program lead right now, and I'm thinking about, the future and some of the trends you just spoke about, and thinking about building a tech ecosystem or a partnership ecosystem, what are some of the best practices? Because, I've seen situations where companies have come to me and said, listen, I was sold a jack of all trades, silver bullet solution, and now I'm having to back out of it. But they really got me because they own the VMS, they own the MSP, they're the payroller and independent contractor classification tool. They also, and they were a jack of all trades, silver bullet, but they haven't, been best of breed in each. So, what are some practical advice when I'm a program lead going, how do I build an ecosystem and or at least be aware of the ecosystem out there and start patching it together? Because sometimes I just want a silver bullet. I'm a busy person, but I also want to know that I am procuring the best in each of some of these categories.
Yeah. And that question we could talk about for another 30 minutes easily. So where we started is really, to me, I talked earlier about voice of the customer, voice of our internal stakeholders. It starts with establishing a cross-functional team of people that have interest in this part of the program, whether it's partnerships in tech or partnerships in other areas of our organization. We have so many partners that are amazing, but really having a cross-functional team that each has a stake, their own interest, and generally looking over their organizations. From it could be the PMO delivery folks, it could be implementation folks, it could be back office folks, legal, finance, you name it. But having a cross-functional team that all have a say in how this is managed, who we're vetting, the viability behind those technologies or partners, what the ROI is to them, how it affects their world. Maybe it doesn't make it easier for them to do business. I've identified some partners that I thought were amazing, but our finance team had challenges really setting them up the right way. So it's about having that cross-functional voice, a steering team that's working together and sharing information, communicating openly. And then once you have that team, and teams vary in size, obviously, not every organization has access to a lot of different people to do this, but really having a process for intake, identifying and ideation. So you identify the tech out there, you talk to other experts like you, like others, Brian, there's so many that are talking to tech partners, and introduce them into your company And you go through that initial intake and ideation idea, and then you do a vetting process. You need a vetting process. I would say check the boxes. Check the boxes for the tech, first of all, for the cost, the ROI. What problem is this solving? What isn't it solving? And then the next, I would say after that, and there's a whole slew of things that we consider, but have a sound engagement strategy. Implementation, change management, the things we talked about earlier are so important. Don't force feed these into your accounts. You know, they're going to want to know what's in it for me as well, because, you know, in our business, the PMOs are extremely busy solving big problems, small and big problems all day, every day. So having that formal methodology, from ideation to intake, vetting to deployment is pretty critical.
And knowing that change management and deployment upfront is often as important as what you said in the very first start of the vetting process, because you could check a lot of the boxes, and then deployment becomes so difficult that it fails. So why even start with all these other, until you know that it'll seamlessly fit into the ecosystem and how it will, what it needs to integrate technically with, how the pricing model will work that integrates into your current structure. All of those things is really important to think about, right? So it's
spot on.
Got that at the end, but I'd almost say, hey, why get a good taste it'll integrate well, because if not, let's not go through this other side of the process.
Change happens throughout, and post go live change, you know, and hypercare is extremely important. Measure success. How's it going? Right. So change doesn't stop when you go live. You have to constantly look and improve and really measure. And that's a big part of it too. Sometimes you implement something that, you know, day one it seems amazing. It could be amazing, but day 30 or 60 or 90, maybe not so much. Maybe things just didn't go the way you had planned, or you know, some of the implementation strategy fell off.
Yeah. And it is
so many things to consider.
Yes, like you say, it's partially an experiment. So
it is.
I think the lesson here is never stop experimenting, because I think that's how we make the world a better place. But there's a lot of things that go into building a strategic partnership program and a technology ecosystem. And I can't say enough. I know we could talk further and further and further, and maybe we'll have a part 2 shortly down the road. But Andy, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk about this topic, which is really cool in this day and age, where you really do want strategic partnerships and bring them to the client to have best of breed programs across the whole ecosystem in our industry. So thanks again. It's awesome.
Thank you. It was fun. And that's really part of it too. Keep it fun. And, you know, it's so exciting what's going on in our world, our workforce management world. And I love it. And thank you for inviting me. It was great.